All right, third grade, this is Miss Vanche, the Ely Elementary and McKinley Elementary art teacher, talking specifically to third grade here. We were in the process of learning about texture, specifically realistic texture, which is texture that you can feel in the real world. If you make a project, maybe that has raised elements to it, like a glob of glue with like fabric on top of your canvas or something like that, that has real texture. We're also going to be talking specifically about implied texture today. Implied texture means you're pretending or implying that there's texture on something that's flat, like a piece of paper. You're saying, I want to pretend that something has texture. So I'm going to show you this real fast. I'm not going to play it, but I'll show it to you. I'd like you to go to PBS's website, and I was going to show you guys this video. It's called The Elements of Art Texture, third grade. It's very cool. Please go ahead and take a look at that. Watch that, pause the video, and then you guys can come back to me for a minute. All right, awesome. So we're going to talk about implied texture, which is that pretend texture that we talked about. Now, you guys have already been doing implied texture whether you realize it or not, okay? Anytime you draw something, let's say like a tree or anything like that, and you added those lines to it to imply that there was something there that's really not, because this is a flat piece of paper. Besides the texture of the paper, there's nothing there. So for example, if you've ever done this, and I'm going to use pink color just so you can tell the difference. If you've drawn a tree like I have here before, and you've ever drawn the tree lines or the bark on the tree like so, okay, if you've ever done that, you're implying or you're pretending that that tree has bark, okay? You're implying or you're pretending that if you walked into this picture and you came up to the tree and you touched it, it would have a bumpy, rough surface because of that tree bark. Same thing with your leaves. If you've ever gone up here or drawn leaves in two different ways, maybe the fluffy technique or the scratchy, bumpy technique, you are implying or pretending that if you were to walk up to that tree, you would feel the texture of those bumpy, prickly leaves, okay? So there's many different ways that artists imply that something has texture without actually putting texture there. We're like fooling your eye. You guys have been doing this all along. I just want to put a label or a vocabulary word to it. So over here, it may not look like it, but I have a pillow, okay? So if I ever added, let's add some scratchy marks to this pillow like this to make it look like it's kind of a woven, maybe like a burlap sack kind of texture. I'm just going to add a couple all the way around. You don't need to add the entire thing. But if you look at this pillow or the sack now, you can tell that this sack or pillow has some sort of like woven bumpy texture to it. And I just added that implied texture by just drawing a couple lines, okay? Let's go over here. I've got my little cartoon lady here with her hair. I know you guys have done this before. If you've ever drawn the lines of the hair, whether it's curly hair or wavy straight hair like this, you're implying that the texture of this person's hair is wavy and there's lots of different strands and they probably would feel smooth, or if it's curly, it would feel bouncy and bumpy. So I just created implied texture. And then I have my little cartoon sheep here that I'm going to add some fluffy bumpies to imply that the texture of the wool on this little sheep is soft and fluffy and fuzzy. And if I were to walk up to the sheep and put my hand on it, I would just feel so soft and, you know, like fuzzy and comfortable feeling, because I implied that there was some texture there when there wasn't before. Before it was just a picture of a sheep on a plain piece of paper. Now it looks like my picture has come alive because I've added implied texture. So here's my challenge to you third graders. Now, you can draw your own picture and add implied texture to it, or another really easy way to add implied texture is to get a coloring sheet, a blank one. And with a pencil or a marker or something, you can draw in the implied texture and make your picture really come alive. So that's my challenge to you, third grade, implied texture.